Welcome to the Socialize forecast, Tuesday, October 15th. I hope you had a great weekend. I want to point out that a lot of times when I have to record these podcasts, you just never know when the lighting is going to be right in the room. The time of day I can get to it often isn't the greatest time for the light. So this is a great example of pushing through even when things are not exactly perfect the way you imagine them. And I do this often, and I do it almost to test myself, to push myself and say, listen, the lighting doesn't have to be perfect. The sound doesn't have to be perfect, although I like my microphone, so hopefully you do have good sound here on the podcast. But a lot of times I'm out on the fly in New York, it's loud, or I have sirens outside the window, and I just push through. So you really can give yourself grace, as I like to say, and go for it. It doesn't have to be perfect. And there will be another piece of content coming up next, and you can be better on that one. I just like to think getting things done a lot of times is much more easy on your soul than waiting for that perfect moment to do everything exactly right. And of course, there's a time and a place for perfection, but I will just say that I'm trying to teach myself and allow myself the space to not always have things be as I necessarily would like them. And I do them anyway. All right, let's talk about social media this week. So, lots of fun stuff. I have had less time to scroll than I normally do, but I thought it was interesting that one of the things I wanted to talk about today, which is a trend that I see happening that's not an audio trend, but more of a lifestyle trend. And lo and behold, I opened up the newsletter to record today, and Julie has it picked as the trend. Her first trend. So I am going to talk about that and just talk about how different trends can be. And they're not necessarily always a sound and you do a certain thing, or an audio, a lip sync, or sometimes it's just somebody does something and then other people catch on to it. For example, I'm going to just throw out the Roman Empire trend, when people were asking their partners if they think how often they think about the Roman Empire. That was not an audio trend. That was just a lifestyle trend that people picked up on. Even when you talk about the demure trend, and that was something where a creator said it, there wasn't her audio eventually went viral, but a lot of people first were just using the term demure. So that wasn't necessarily attached to an audio or a CapCut template or something that was so rigid. A lot of these trends are way more free, and it's just a matter of you participating in it. So this is one of those, which is an interpretive dance, and it's really challenging. You're saying to your partner that you can't do such and such. You have to do this show me an interpretive dance before you can watch the football game tonight, for example. So a lot of couples were having fun with maybe football season or other things in their life, that it was like, you can't have this treat until you do an interpretive dance. Very funny, silly, irreverent trend. And, maybe it's not right for everyone. I'm certainly not going to be doing that one. Gonna let that one go. And that's another point. You don't have to do every trend. If we're talking about a trend here and it just doesn't connect with you, don't do it. You don't have to participate in something just because it's so trending so much. And a lot of people like to jump on a trend and think, I'm going to make it work. And a lot of times it just flops anyway, because it's not really right for your niche, for your brand, for your personality, for your lifestyle. I don't have a husband who wants to be on camera, so of course I'm not going to force him to do it. I respect the people around me and boundaries that the people around me have. So we all should learn from that, because I do have times where I'll assume that people want to be in the camera, and I have learned over time that a lot of people don't enjoy it. They don't feel comfortable. And I had a friend this weekend literally run away from me, and I was like, you just have to say it. I didn't know that you didn't want to be on camera. You don't have to run away. I'm not going to force you to be in a video. I thought that was really funny. But all because I enjoy it, I don't demand that other people enjoy it. So just keep that in mind as you're putting yourselves out there. And a lot of people like to do man on the street content, and often people don't want to be stopped on the street. I see it so much in New York, where people are stopping people on the street and people are just walking by. First of all, New Yorkers, we are very programmed to just walk by quickly so we don't get stopped and sold something to or sign. People are always out there wanting you to sign things and make donations. A lot of times I'm in a rush. I'm not stopping for everyone, so I'm powering through. So a lot of people are busy and not interested in your mission. And now I'd like to say that we are all our own main character. So they are busy in their life doing their thing, and you are an extra. You don't have to participate in everything, just like you are your own main character getting to your meeting or getting where you have to go, and they happen to come into your pathway. That doesn't mean you have to necessarily engage. I had to learn this through the years of being in New York because I was always very accommodating. That's just part of my nature. And I don't like to say no to people, and I don't like to be rude, let's say. So that's what I've learned through the years. What else do we want to talk about this week? There's something I would like to say about social media in general that I see having evolved through the years, and I'm noticing it so much more now than I did before. I do think we used to, as we started on social media, if you were on it when it first came out, and then when TikTok really picked up during the pandemic and we had a lot of time to be on social media, everybody used it more for fun, for joy, as an outlet, and more as a maybe creative expression. And through the past 4 years, 5 years that we were on to now, it has come to be more of a information hotline, like where you get your information. Granted, we were learning things during the pandemic, and that's why it started to be called TikTok University and Social Media College and all of that, because we were learning things. And that's still happening, but it's even more so now. Now we go there for the information, to seek it out. We're not just letting it scroll up in front of us. When I'm looking for a restaurant in my neighborhood, I go to TikTok first and I look up and I see what are some of the restaurants in New York City that I should go to in my neighborhood, and just see what I've been missing. On the flip side to that, there was a creator who put out a video talking about how everyone in New York City are clones now, and they're dressing like TikTok, and they're just putting themselves in the same clothing, and they look like everything, all the information they're getting is from TikTok. So it's a two-way street. Definitely there's two sides to the coin always. And so being inspired doesn't mean it should take over your life and you should run it that way necessarily. All right. So I talked about the first trend. Let's pop on to the second trend. And I also want you to think about, it's time to start planning for holidays. And I'm noticing it with my clients and people that I'm making content for. We are way in it. We are in deep in holiday zone. So as you look at the second trend for today, when something spooky happens, this audio is a remix of Chappell Roan's Pink Pony Club with some Halloween music mixed in. And the trend is that you're having a good time, and then you get a text from somebody that puts you back into reality. So that could be you get a text from your parents, or you get a text from your boss, or a client is disrupting your night out or something like that. So you can have fun with that one, but note that it is starting to become tied into the Halloween sounds. And if you want to get ahead of it, really start thinking about those Halloween sounds now. We put a few of them in the newsletter for today so that you can start preparing your content. I'm doing it for clients, so I'm here to remind you to start doing it for yourself, because as you use those sounds, you give yourself more of an opportunity to have more eyeballs on your content, as typically those sounds do start to trend when the holidays come. Now for the Instagram trends for today, both are from TikTok audios that were trending way back. And one of them is really fun because it's where you nobody move, and then it's the transition to you looking down. And so you can actually, if you're really good at doing transitions, you can click on the audio and watch how some of the transitions are done to this, where it's like look down, and then you get the angle from the looking down, and then the angle. So you watch the camera angles and you recreate those camera angles to make it a little more engaging. We are going to be doing a newsletter upcoming, speaking of engaging, that is going to talk about different things you can do and say as hooks. We're going to do a whole feature newsletter on that. I don't know if it'll be this Friday coming, but very soon. So that's going to be helpful, because I do think people don't realize a lot of times hooks are not just things you say, but they could be also things you're doing in your content. We have been talking about doing a newsletter about hooks for a long time, and providing you with a template of hooks. And now's the time. We're getting to it finally. All right, the next trend on Instagram is a simple one where it's a screaming a yeah response. And it's basically something that you're showing off that you're saying yes to. And it could be a question, or it could be somebody did something that makes you so excited that you're like, yes, yes, yes. This could be if your students did something that you approve of and you're like so proud of it. So you're like, yes. So that's a good one. Nice, easy one. It could be something you can use for your niche. If you get a bunch of sales on a certain holiday, or if you get inventory early and then you're able to prepare your products ahead of time so you can do the yes audio to that. Try just to always think outside the box with these trends, so that you're not locked in and so rigid. Next is a reminder. Please, if you have questions, please go to the newsletter, click submit question, and tell us your question. I love to answer questions at the ends of the newsletters. And I think people now that when something's in a newsletter over and over every week, after a while it becomes wallpaper and you don't notice it's there. So we put it right in the middle this week. Submit your question, we will answer. And I love to do that because then sometimes it spurs on a whole topic for a newsletter that I didn't even think to do because I didn't even realize it was a question. So please do submit your questions. We would love to answer them. And now let's get into the original content ideas. Number 1. Give some advice. Give your followers a small piece of advice. It could be about something you learned on social media, something you learned in life, something you learned about your business, something you learned about the role you have in the family, as a mom, as an oldest, whatever it is. Give some advice, and it could potentially help some of your viewers, and it can also be very relatable. And relatable videos tend to be the ones that are more likely to go viral. Next up, we're on to spooky season. So it's fun to share maybe your favorite spooky, scary movie with your followers. You could also talk about why you don't like certain spooky, scary movies, how you might remake a scary movie to make it more fun, how you would change an ending on a movie. If you think about those things where you can get your audience talking and thinking, that could be a really, really fun piece of original content. And the last one is, I always suggest that every few months, you maybe think about sharing a day in your life. I do think a lot. I did this recently on when we were on a sailboat in Tahiti, and I did this on Instagram, actually. I shared what it's like to live on a sailboat. And it was just a long piece of content. At least felt long to me, because I was explaining all the reasons how we store things, how we manage things, how we run things on a sailboat. And it really, really did well. So you might want to consider a way of sharing a day in your life that's maybe a more unusual day than you normally have. So today is a different day because I actually had a meeting in person where I had to get dressed up and go physically to an office and have a pre-pro meeting. Normally, our pre-production meetings are always on Zoom calls, and you only see people from the waist up. So my first joke of the meeting was, here we are, and we're all dressed all the way to our shoes today. And they liked that. They thought it was fun. But it's true. We don't always share a day in our life, and we don't always have the same days from day to day. So if you have a day that's a little more unusual, you could share what you did today. If it's just a mundane day, okay, this is like what a normal mundane day is in my life. And you can see if you can put a fun twist on it with some fun audio. Those are your original content ideas. Guess what? I have been so swamped at work that I have not shot a tutorial. So in today's newsletter, I did not include a new tutorial. I repurposed one. So look at that. Even the mothership has to repurpose her content sometimes when things are crazy. I'm prepping a shoot for next week. I had a shoot last week. And when I'm on those production days, and they are long days often from 6:30 in the morning till 7 at night, it's all my daylight. I don't have time to shoot anything. And I'm going from the day before preparing right into the shoot, 2 long days in a row. Then I power into the weekend. I was away in the Catskills this weekend, so I wasn't able to set up a tripod and do a tutorial. I probably could have, but I didn't want to be rude to the guests that I was visiting. So I just lived in the moment, and I did not shoot a tutorial. And guess what? The world did not come to an end. Social media is not an emergency. So I'm sharing with you 2 tutorials today that were created previously just to remind you of the things that maybe you missed them when I posted them way back when, or maybe it's something that you remember I did and, oh yeah, I forgot you showed me how to do that. So that's what I'm doing that's what I've done in today's newsletter. And that's it. I'm going to wrap it up, losing the light. And I do have one more thing I have to record today before the sun sets. So I'm going to sign off early. I really hope that you send me your questions for Friday. I would love to answer some questions this week. So go right now. And if you are watching this on YouTube, you can put the question right in the comment section. If you're watching this on Transistor, go to the email, the newsletter from this morning, and hit us up with a question. Think of one. I know you have them, and I'm here for you. Okay, thank you so much, and have a very happy week, and I'll see you Friday.